Alright, welcome back to part 2. So, one thing I forgot to mention is sometimes I have to clean up the comm here, and that's done fairly easy. If it's scored or anything, then you need to, I'd say just get a new arm, but if you wanted to try, you could try some 2000 grit sandpaper and smooth it out. But just some alcohol and a rag or paper towel here in this case. Just kind of clean it up, get all the oil residue off of there. And since this is a rotating piece, you take your 3000 grit. Just do that. So yeah, that's the work we do for the arm. Now, let's put it all back together. So, we have our new gear here. I got the link for that down below. Just gonna slide that into place. One thing that might make this easier is going to my needle nose pliers. I got it on there. Just want to make sure it's straight. A little at a time, just keeping it straight. Yep. Push it all the way over there to our boss. That looks good. Now, put our wheels back on. These are actually decently tight still. Sometimes they loosen up. You got to use a little super glue. These are pretty good. And I use our tech tool here. I got from one of the guys online, but this is the width that we use in our club for Tycos. If you're not racing, then you don't really need to worry about this step, but make sure all the cars are legal. So our rear axle assembly is done. Now, time to assemble our motor box. So we're gonna get all of our pieces out here.
Springs. Springs.
All right, I had to skip ahead a little bit there. It took me a little while I was fishing in this alcohol for a little while for a spring, so I just jumped ahead. But yeah, I got all my pieces out, got them dried off. Got my motor magnets here. We're gonna put the motor box back together. So we're gonna take our armature. This is the rear bulkhead that holds the traction magnets. Put that like that. Then, so this is the bottom where your traction magnets sit on there. We go to bring bring up a full car here. See how the traction magnets are in there? So if that's the bottom and this is the front, then you want your white motor magnet face up on the driver's side, and your other motor magnet on the passenger side. And then get your rear bulkhead. And these little teeth here, they go on the top. They're like your spring retainers. Goes like that. Now I like to pinch it top and bottom like a hole and try and just keep everything pinched. Put the brushes back in. So, before I do that, let's set that off to the side there. I'm gonna put my springs. You got your brush barrel. Put your spring in. And let me show you here. These brushes, they have like a dimple on the one end. That goes against the spring. And the other end actually has a bit of a radius that wraps around the com, which you can't really see because the camera will not focus on that. See, these suckers will shoot. So you just put that like that. Take your motor box. Like I said, try and pinch it as a hole. And just put it in. And push it. Now we'll do, that's one side. Now we'll do the other side. The biggest thing is just light hands. I got big fat fingers and I can do this, so pretty much anybody can do it. I'll pinch my motor box. See the brush sticking out there? I like to get the brush in first. And then just push it in. Then I'll give it a couple spins just to let them seat. Now I'll take my pinion gear, put that back on. Don't know how far yet. We'll figure that out when we put it back together. But that looks about right. Motor box is back together. Now that will come right apart, so you gotta be light hands, gentle. Now the traction magnets. The factory ones sometimes hold in there pretty good. Sometimes if you get the aftermarkets, they want to fall out. These are actually kind of loose. So I'll probably have to use the tire trick. But yeah. This smaller part is the bottom, and it sits, you can see there how it sits in the chassis. And with stock, there is no high and low downforce. So, see, I got my finger in there right now. If you take an old tire, put it like that between them, it'll hold them in. Now you can set this down here. You got one more step, which is the step a lot of people struggle with before we put the motor back in the chassis. And that is putting the springs back on. So, see, you got a long side and a short side. The short side goes up. Remember I said before, these, put that down, get a better pointer. These little teeth here is the top. So, you're gonna put your spring long side down, short side up. And it's against that retainer. Now you got to get it inside that retainer. Nope, I just lost it. So it's on there. See this part here? Got to get that around the other side of that retainer. Like that. And then your shoe sits on this part down here. If we go to the other side, oh, spring fell off. Trying to do this on camera, so it's a little different than my normal. You gotta like pinch it so it doesn't fall off that side, and then do the other side. When I do this, not on camera, not explaining anything, I can do it in about 4 minutes. Rip apart to rebuild. So, see how you got your hooks here? Put the chassis spread it out and up in. There you go. It's hard to do it slow and not do it in one like motion. Hopefully you've seen how how I did it on the camera. But yeah, here are your shoe springs, pinion gear, traction magnets. Everything's in. Give the motor a spin, nothing's binding up. We can take our rear axle and pop this thing back in. Oops, that's backwards. Make sure that's not binding up. Take our front axle, pop that back in. She spins free. Take a bit of oil. Just the smallest amount on both bulkheads where the armature poles or rods come through, the armature axle. Not everybody does this. I put a little bit in the axle. And I also put a little bit on the front axle, because it's all friction. So, now it's time for our new shoes, and then our rear sneakers. These I like to put on. The spring's got to go closest to the bulkhead, inside of the bulkhead. And in this little hook, I hook on, and then I'll put the front on. Sometimes you gotta come around here and push this under the retainer here. And then I'll take my spring with the tweezers and put it under. I never try and get the spring on while putting the shoe on. Some people do. Some people are really good at it. I like to put the shoe on first and then worry about the spring. I hear my kid down there with his YouTube on his tablet. There we go. Let's get some tires on it and get it on the track. All right, so that's the best time we had with the old chassis setup, 7.6. Here we are with the new one we did the work on. You can already hear it's a lot smoother, faster.
Drive it through best lap.
One lap bested it. Took over a second off. Now, a lot of that has to do with the silicone tires, obviously, but just from a sound standpoint.
Drive it to best lap.
Even faster that time. And then with the new shoes, you can see in full contact. It's a much cleaner car. So, yeah, here we go. That's how you restore an old Tyco. Clean it up, full rebuild, a little bit of tuning. and you got yourself a runner. But till the next one, take it easy, YouTube world.